Hello and welcome to this masterclass. We're going to take you through how to make an everyday basic object in Blender 2.83. We've chosen to make a keyboard, a gaming keyboard, so we can look at the basic modelling and then have a look at how we can actually apply materials and then create a look. So the first thing that we should be looking at doing when we're in any 3D package is creating our scene structure. So I'm just going to create a folder, name it to everyday object, and then inside that folder I'm going to save my blend file. I've also added it to my favourites. This will just make it easier when I'm actually working. So then to set the layout up, what I've done is I'm going to add an image viewer, and I'm going to add my reference images to this. I've got 3 reference images, so I'm going to duplicate this 3 times, and that's just by tearing up from the bottom and then changing the image. Okay, now we've got everything set up, we can start to block out our shapes. So first thing to do is look at what the shapes are, and as you can see the basic shape of a keyboard is, well, it's a flat cube. So I'm going to start with our cube that we've got. Just make sure I've saved the scene. Now I could use the edit mode, but what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and use the unit size so that I've got the correct size of a keyboard. So I've just measured the keyboard that's in front of me, and I'm using those measurements just to get me a good idea. Wherever possible, it's best to model with correct unit size. I'm just going to guess how tall it is. Okay, so now we've got that set up. I've realised that I've done it in the depth on Blender, so I'm just going to switch some of them round. So it'll be 0.6 and then 0.17 again, and now we're set up. So this is going to act as our base reference. Because we've got an over top view, we can use that reference directly straight into Blender. So if we take that reference from our image folder, and what we need to do is we need to go to a top view, so if we press the tilde key, it brings up a flyout for all our views. I'm just going to drag and drop that straight into the view. Now if I click on the empty that's come in, you can see the image has got some properties, so I could turn the transparency on, make sure it's always in front of any objects, and then I can change the size. So I'm going to drop the size down to 0.6. You can see that's not quite right, so I'm going to eyeball that up. So right now I'm just using my middle mouse and shift and control to move the viewport around, and then I've just used the G key just to move the keys into the right shape. So remember, the reference object is really just there for where the keys actually sit on the keyboard. So I'm going to create a new collection, and this way I can hide things. If I want any more reference images in there, I can just put them all in the same place. I've also filtered the selection tool, so I'm not able to select that reference when I'm modelling. So into edit mode, now we can just tighten up that reference box using the G key and Y. And then the G key and X. Being a Maya user, I do like to have my gimbal controls where I can when you're working in wireframe mode, it's easier to select top and bottom vertexes. I'm just going to change the actual height, and what I'm going to do is bring up the bottom to where the split line would be. So I'm just using Control to snap to those grid points incrementally, and again the same for the top. So now we've got that shape set up, we can now start to look at modelling the keys. The good thing about mechanical objects are that they have quite a lot of uniformity. So I'm just going to pick a key that's more or less looking straight down on top of in my reference imager. I'm just going to bring in a cube, and then I'm going to scale this to be about the right size. That's pressing the S key. Just looking for the right key that's got the right sort of equal distances all around it, which tells me that we've got a directly top view. Because I've got a keyboard in front of me, I'm just guessing what the height of a key would be. And again, hiding the references is useful. It's not useful when you've actually dropped your cube in there, so I'm just going to drop that into the other collection. There we go. So I want this to sit on the top of the reference box. That'll just help me when I'm trying to position them all. So the next thing, it looks like I need to actually bevel the edges. So I've just taken the bottom set of vertexes and I'm just going to make those a little bit wider like they are at the bottom. I could have used a mirror modifier, split the object in two, and then I would have had a perfect mirror on the other side. But it's such a simple shape. So just selecting these edges on the side, Control B. As you can see, bevel edges, and then just pull out. And if you middle mouse roll the middle mouse scroll wheel, you can actually increase the number of divisions. That's not looking too bad. So I think we need a bevel on the top, so what I'm going to do is press Alt and then select, and then I'm just going to bevel that edge as well. So we can have a look at that. I'm getting a little bit of clipping going on with my view, so I'm going to sort that out. Okay, so we're selecting the face, There's a little bit of an indentation, so I'm just going to inset. So I just need to sort out that clipping. So if I just open up the side with the N key, I can go to view and then I can turn the clip start down. And that means I can get much closer. So I've still got the inset, and I'm just going to change that a little bit. See which one works. I think what I need to do is change the numbers. Actually, I'll use the scale key, and that's just going to make things a little bit more even. This is just to create that little bit of an indent. And then we'll just bevel that on the inside. Let's see how that looks in shaded mode. We'll hide our reference. I'll just go out of edit mode and shade smooth. I need to select the object first. There we go. So that's looking very much like a key on my keyboard. So what I want to do now is think about the bottom of the key. So underneath there's kind of like a spring system. So I'm going to start working on that. Just making sure that the keys will align as I move along the side. They look like they do align. Okay, it's not too bad. So I'm going to start at the beginning of the keyboard, add a modifier, add an array, crank up the numbers, and then just work out what the gap is. So I think I need 11, maybe 12, and then maybe if I try 1.01. Maybe 0.2. So once we've worked out these key distances, we'll be able to apply that across the other keyboard. So now we've got our top row of keys done. And because we're using an array modifier, any changes we make to that first key, that's going to allow us to change it all down the line. So let's go and work on that. Let's just go into edit mode. And we're going to work on creating that bottom. So I'm just using Alt and selecting on the edge. The edge is actually underneath, that's why I couldn't select it. There we go. And then we'll just offset that. And I'm going to use this to create the circle. And then I can extrude that down as the sort of peg for the key. I'm going to use an add-on. So you want to install the extra curves menus. So we'll just inset that. And I'm going to select those edges and convert them to a circle. Just scale them in first to the sort of right width. And then if I right mouse, on the loop tools, we can turn that to a circle, and I'll just rotate that just to clean up the geometry a little bit. And you can see that's happening down the array as well. So if we then extrude that, just scale it to the right size first, then we'll extrude that down, just pressing the E just to the right height. And now we've got our key pegs. Okay, so I'm going to turn on some extra curve tools. And I need to add some geometry to create the spring. I'm just going to save this scene first. We'll just save that.